You listen to a friend vent and immediately hand them a checklist. This isn't because you're too helpful. It's a reflex to escape the discomfort of someone else's pain. You hold out that mental clipboard, one quick sigh, and the whole evening breaks apart. You'll understand why your best advice pushes people away and what to do next. What's actually driving that urge?
The cost of being helpful.
They start complaining and your mouth opens instantly. You're ready with a spreadsheet for their broken heart. There's a name for this, the writing reflex. In plain words, the urge to fix. You already tried holding back. It didn't work. You're already defending your logical solution in your head before they even finish speaking. This costs you the connection you want. Are you feeling for them, or are you trying to escape the heavy feeling in the room? Every time you step in, you lose ground. The real damage happens underneath. That exact move you use to help them is what forces them into silence.
When listening feels like a threat,
your partner mentions a bad day, and you immediately list 3 ways they could talk to their boss. You offer a solution so you don't have to feel their sadness. It can function as a form of self-defense. When frustration fills the room, you may notice yourself looking for a quick way out. Picture slipping on noise-canceling headphones the second a friend starts crying. The checklist can function like an emotional mute button. You hand them a plan because sitting in the mess feels too heavy.
Notice the physical urge to interrupt with a fix. Catching that impulse creates a gap between feeling the discomfort and reacting to it. You'll find yourself pausing before you speak. The silence lets the tension drop. You keep the discomfort at arm's length, but the distance creates a debt. When you trade empathy for a solution, you risk missing the chance to build a real connection. You stop being a partner and start being a consultant. Eventually, they may be less likely to come to you with the things that matter most.
Logic as a hiding place. Why is it so terrifying to sit there with nothing to offer? You use logic to keep the conversation safely distant from raw emotion. A coworker admits they're drowning in deadlines, and instead of acknowledging the stress, you start reorganizing their calendar. Problem solving keeps you in control. It positions you as the expert, safe on higher ground, while they stay vulnerable below. You're holding up a clipboard to block a hug. You hide behind color-coded time blocks because managing a schedule is much safer than witnessing a breakdown. Asking a question forces you to stay in their reality instead of pulling them into your logic. Ask one clarifying question about their experience. That's the whole move. The moment you refuse to play the expert, the room changes. They stop defending their stress and actually start talking to you. Your office rewards this distance, but staying in control at work sets up a completely different collision when you bring that same logic home.
why your answers make them angry.
One path hands out a quick answer. The other path listens. When you rush to fix the problem, they may interpret your advice as a signal that you view them as the problem. You offer a perfectly sound plan, and they immediately shut down. That pushback tells you nothing about your idea. It exposes exactly how unheard they feel. You throw a heavy life jacket at someone trying to stand in the shallow end. They aren't drowning. They only want a minute to complain about the water. Forcing a rescue signals that their current state is unacceptable. A deliberate wait breaks the automatic reaction. It proves you're willing to sit with them. Hold the silence for 5 seconds after they answer. Watch their shoulders finally drop. The real danger isn't the argument today. It's the risk that this pattern of disconnection becomes a habit that erodes your relationship over time. But there is one more place this hides, and you won't see it until the connection is already gone.
The fear of permanent sadness.
Sitting there while someone vents is a tactic you already tried. It collapsed. You believe that if you don't step in, a bad mood will ruin everything forever. The underlying dread is permanence. You think the negative state will stretch on infinitely if left alone. Picture staring at a tiny puddle in the driveway. You assume the water will rise into a flood unless you grab a bucket and drain it yourself. Every tear becomes an escalating disaster. You convince yourself that stepping back means drowning. Emotions resolve much faster when witnessed than when managed. Lower the clipboard. The person speaking only wants to be heard. Watching someone complain takes less energy than fighting the sadness. When you stop trying to manage the flood, you realize it was only ever a puddle. Putting the tools down. Now you know why your advice backfires. Solving isn't about their problems, it's about you. You're escaping your own discomfort. Notice the physical urge to interrupt with a fix. Ask one clarifying question about their experience. Hold the silence for 5 seconds after they answer. Drop the checklist and subscribe to build connection without carrying everyone's weight. When was the last time you offered a solution just to end an uncomfortable conversation?